big welcome, Allan Layton.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. For Christ's sake, let's get going. As Rennie said, I got asked back. I did this a couple of years ago, got into a bit of trouble, which is normally the case. And therefore, what I try to do whenever I come is try and do something slightly different. And as this was really, this whole thing is about leadership, I thought I would talk about something completely different, which is this. It's called Strange What You Pick Up in a Hotel Library. Okay? So, what the hell has what you pick up in a hotel library got to do with leadership or management or anything like that? And this is a true story. And this is a true story about longer than that, must be 5, 6 years ago. I was up in the Midlands and I was in a hotel called the Stapleford Park. And I got there for lunch and I was wandering around thinking, well, what shall I do? And in every hotel, like the country house hotels, there's a library. And if you ever go in the library and you look at the books, most of the books have been bought not to read, but to put on the shelves in the library. And so I was wandering around these books, and there was a book which was called The First Book of Psychology. And it was a little grey book. And I thought, I'll just pull this out. And I pulled this little grey book out, and it was called The First Book of Psychology. And it was done in something like 1894. And it had been bought for 10p and put into the library. And I don't think anybody had ever read this book. So I just skimmed it. And roughly, these were the chapter headings. Chapter 1 was called Miss the Tunnel at the End of the Light. Not miss the light at the end of the tunnel, miss the tunnel at the end of the light. Chapter 2 was called Listen to the River. Chapter 3 was Find the Jewel in the Toad's Head. Chapter 4, Create the Will and the Rhythm. And Chapter 5, Avoid the Funeral of a Living Corpse. Pretty motivating stuff, I thought. And I thought, what the hell is all this about? Because when you see stuff like that, you think, that's really, well, bloody hell, this must be good. I better read this. It will tell me, it'll teach me some stuff. And what it was really all about was about people. And in a strange way, as I sort of skimmed it and read it, I started to think, actually, this is not just about people, but it's about how you manage people and how you lead people. And actually, the more I thought about it, as I've sort of thought about it over the few years, is there's lots of lessons in this. And if you relate these chapters back to some stuff that happens, it's a very different way of looking at stuff that gets you in a similar position. So I thought I'd flick through some of these. Miss the tunnel at the end of the light. It's a very interesting thought because, remember, largely I do turnarounds. And the good thing about turnarounds is there's always plenty of turnarounds to do. And if you think about that, well, why would that be? And a lot of the turnarounds that you have to do are driven by this first thing. Every great failure was once a great success. Every great failure was once a great success. And if you look at Marks and Spencer's, you look at Sainsbury in the retail sector, you looked at businesses like that, that's true. So every great failure was once a great success. And if things have succeeded once, generally it was for a reason. And if you can find out what that reason was and you can execute it with modernity, well then actually my view is a lot of that stuff works. And I'll come to that in a minute. The other thing which I was taught a long time ago is companies don't die, brands don't die, people kill them. One day, Marks and Spencer's didn't decide, I think we're going to go downhill. And all those names above the stores said, whoa, I think we'll all go downhill. Let's all go downhill together. But it often is written as if that's what happened. What happened to Marks and Spencer's? What happened to Sainsbury? What happened to Saks? What happened to British Rail? What happened? What happened? People killed them. That's what happened. And so you can't divorce business success from leadership or the people in it, because actually it's largely the leaders that killed it. Not all the store managers and manageresses and all the people who fill the shelves and all of that. They didn't decide, let's go and really mess this up. They were just doing what they thought they did. And the point about miss the tunnel at the end of the light as opposed to the light at the end of the tunnel is you can think you are in a great business that's doing particularly well, that has been around for thousands of years, that is never going to be a problem, and it will be. And that's the tunnel at the end of the light. So you have to have an eye for it, but above everything else, you better miss it. But you'll only miss it if you're looking for it. If you always think there's a light, there's a problem. If you think there may be a tunnel, it's probably worth thinking about.